The secret rule of rich people that few people know. It was the middle of a scorching afternoon when a young man stood outside a bank, counting the last few coins in his pocket, when a polished black car rolled by and the man in the back seat leaned out the window just long enough to laugh and tell his companion, loud enough for the whole street to hear, that people like this boy stayed poor forever because they never understood the real secret to becoming rich. The young man said nothing. He simply stood there, coins in hand, and felt something stir inside him that was not anger, but curiosity, a burning need to know exactly what secret the rich seemed to guard so closely while everyone else was left to struggle in the dark. He had no idea that this single overheard sentence would quietly rewrite the entire course of his life. His name was Elias van Tongeren. He had grown up in a modest middle-class household, the son of a postal clerk and a mother who took in tailoring work to help make ends meet. From a young age, Elias watched his parents work tirelessly, and yet, by the end of nearly every month, there was never quite enough. He often wondered why some families seemed to grow wealthier with what looked like so little effort, while families like his own worked endlessly and still barely stayed afloat. During his college years, Elias took a low-paying job at a small logistics office, but his salary disappeared into rent and groceries before he ever had a chance to save a single coin. If this story is already touching something in you, if you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Inspire so you never miss a story like this one. Now, let's return to Elias, standing outside that bank with those cruel words still echoing in his mind. The words he had overheard that day lodged themselves deep in his chest. He decided, then and there, that he would find that secret, no matter how long it took or how much effort it demanded of him. He began spending his evenings at the public library, reading biographies of self-made businesspeople, studying interviews, and picking apart the financial decisions of people who had built something from nothing. Slowly, one idea began to surface again and again, a principle so simple it was almost embarrassing that no one had ever explained it to him before. Wealthy people paid themselves first, setting money aside for investment before they ever spent a single coin on anything else, while most people spent first and only tried to save whatever happened to be left over, which was usually nothing at all. It seemed like a small distinction, but Elias understood, even then, that this single difference in thinking was capable of shaping an entire lifetime. Elias built a rule for himself out of his modest paycheck. Every month, the moment his salary arrived, he set aside 10% of it before touching a single coin for anything else, no matter how tight things became. In the beginning, it was brutally difficult, since household expenses already stretched his income thin, and there were months he had to go without things he wanted simply to protect that 10%. His friends mocked him for it, telling him it was foolish to save on such a small income, that he should enjoy whatever little he had instead of denying himself for some uncertain future. Elias ignored them completely. He understood that this small, consistent habit was the very foundation on which he intended to build the rest of his life. After 2 years of disciplined saving, Elias finally had enough set aside to make a small investment. He sought out a respected local investor named Cornelius Adeyemi, who occasionally mentored ambitious young people willing to learn. Cornelius noticed something serious and unusually patient in Elias, and agreed to let him work alongside him, unpaid, on the single condition that Elias show up every week ready to learn the real principles behind money and business. Elias accepted without hesitation. He worked his regular job by day, studied under Cornelius in the evenings, and spent his nights writing down everything he had learned in a worn notebook he carried everywhere. But life rarely moves in a straight line. One afternoon, Elias's father fell seriously ill and required emergency surgery, and the entire 2 years of savings Elias had so carefully protected vanished into hospital bills within a matter of days. That night, sitting alone in the hospital corridor, Elias felt the weight of watching everything he had built disappear in an instant, and he wondered whether all his discipline had been for nothing, whether he was simply back at the same starting line he had begun from years earlier. Then he remembered something Cornelius had told him early on: the real secret of wealthy people isn't that they never suffer losses, it's that after every loss, they return to the same discipline without hesitation. Elias wiped his eyes, and the very next morning, he began again. This time, Elias did not rely on saving alone. He began applying everything Cornelius had taught him in a more practical way, starting a small online business alongside his job, connecting skilled rural artisans, whose handmade goods were routinely sold for almost nothing because they lacked access to proper markets, directly with buyers in the city willing to pay fair prices. He negotiated honest deals with the artisans, priced their work respectfully, and sold it in the city for a modest, sustainable profit. It was, in its own way, the same secret principle at work. The wealthy consistently seek out situations where someone else's disadvantage is hidden in plain sight, and instead of exploiting it, they transform it into something that benefits everyone involved. Slowly, Elias's small business began to grow. He eventually left his job entirely to focus on it full-time, a decision his family considered reckless in the extreme. His mother pleaded with him through tears, warning him of the danger of walking away from steady income, but Elias promised her he would not fail, and that even if he did, he knew exactly how to stand back up. He brought on more artisans, built a simple website, and used social media to promote their products. Within 3 years, his business had expanded into several major cities and had become the primary source of income for hundreds of rural artisan families. During this period, Elias absorbed what may have been the most important secret of all: wealthy people rarely spend to impress others. Instead, they direct their money toward things that generate more wealth, while keeping their personal lives deliberately simple. He noticed that some of the genuinely wealthy people he came to know drove modest cars and dressed plainly despite owning fortunes, while people still striving to become wealthy often spent beyond their means just to appear successful. Elias adopted this principle fully into his own life. No matter how much he earned, he never abandoned simplicity, and he reinvested the majority of every profit back into growing what he had built. Within 5 years, Elias Van Tongeren's small venture had transformed into a substantial company, one that not only sold rural artisans products but also provided them with training and modern tools to grow their own craft. He built his parents a comfortable home, though he himself continued living the same simple life he had adopted at the very beginning. His company now employed hundreds of people, and he personally ran a small non-profit institute offering free financial education to young people, teaching them the exact same principles he had once learned from library books and from Cornelius himself. If Elias's patience and quiet discipline have touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and share in the comments which part of his story moved you the most. Every single comment helps us bring more true, heartfelt stories like this one to the people who need them. Before we reach the end, there is one small thing we would love to ask of you. If you believe that true wealth is never magic, but the result of discipline, patience, and the right habits, type the word discipline in the comments below. Your one word might be exactly what someone else needs to see today, someone quietly trying to change the direction of their own life. Years later, outside the very same bank where Elias had once stood counting his last coins, his car pulled up, and by strange coincidence, the very men who had once laughed at him from behind a car window stood there too, this time waiting in line to apply for a loan, his own business having collapsed years earlier. Elias recognized him instantly, but there was no mockery in his eyes, only quiet understanding. He simply told the men that the greatest secret in life is that no one stays at the top or the bottom forever, and that what truly matters is a person's willingness to keep learning and keep moving forward no matter where they currently stand. Today, Elias Van Tongeren's name is spoken with respect among successful entrepreneurs, and his story stands as proof to anyone trying to understand the real secret behind wealth, that it was never a secret at all, only a set of small, consistent, thoughtful habits that anyone, regardless of where they begin, can choose to practice until their entire future quietly transforms.